Hi everyone. We are just about ready to get started. I'm going to start this little poll, and I'm launching this poll just because I want to know if anyone has a specific need tonight. You know, if I open up the lines, it gets messy. So if you'll just fill that out so I can find out if anyone has anything specific. Let me see who's here. Malik, welcome. Mike, how's it going? Susan, very good to see you. Wayne, and I know a few other peoples will probably be coming on here. Wow, I just don't know where this year has gone, seriously. Hey, answer that 25% voted. Can anyone else finish voting up? Okay, 100%, nobody has anything. Uh, I'll leave it up for a second. No, I won't. Let's just go. I need to say no to the poll. Close poll. Okay. Um, and I hope everyone can see my screen all right. This is, of course, our October version of transaction review and calculator practice. And oh, someone said, hi, Malik. Thank you very much. Yeah, I kind of miss the telephone version where we can actually chat back and forth a little bit better than this module. But anyhow, years flying by, isn't it? Gosh, I can't believe it. Um, 2012 just flew by. I don't know if that's a function of my age or what. Okay, so here tonight I chose to use as an example a 1031 exchange. This is a consulting client that I had just last month. Wait, yeah. We started this in August and we finished it in September. And I also, out of this, was able to buy the note. So I was paid as a consultant for putting this together, and I crafted it myself from start to finish. And then was able to buy the note and have a note investment to boot. So I thought this was a pretty good scenario to take one deal that I've recently done and pretty much hit almost every aspect. So you would think that owner financing doesn't happen with a 1031 exchange, but this is the second actual note that I've bought out of an exchange transaction where the person who sold the property, they have the funds, right, with a qualified intermediary, like there's several qualified intermediaries that they hold the money, and you have a certain period of time. You have to identify properties within a certain time, and then you have to close, I think, within 880 days of when you sold your last property so that you don't have a massive tax liability, capital gains on the sale of your property. So this is the second time where they've needed me to buy the note to finish the deal, to finish the exchange, the up leg. Wait, or is it down leg? Ah, I'm not remembering if it's up leg or down leg. But anyhow, the guy that brought me this deal is an attorney, and it was not really his deal specifically, but it was his parents who owned a multi-unit actually I think it was a small commercial retail building on the East Coast, and they wanted to sell it, which they did, and then they wanted to exchange the money into income producing property here in California, and because that's where their son could help them look after and take care of the investment property, because he does a fair amount of property management in the course of his world, him and his wife. So anyway, they were looking. They sold the building. Here, I hope you can see this okay. They had qualified funds of 256,000. That's the proceeds that they got from selling their retail building on the East Coast. So they're looking to buy something outright for 256 over here, but like time is ticking, tick 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 tick. They're running out of time on their 1031 exchange, and pretty soon they have like a week left, right? So it's getting pretty dicey, because if they don't identify a potential property they can close on in the specified time, they could end up having this massive tax liability, and then be really having a hard time to make the leftover money generate enough money for retirement, which is what they're wanting to do, is have $1,000 per month, okay, to supplement their retirement and whatever, Social Security or pensions that they might have. So their goal was to have this property that they wanted to buy give them $1,000 per month. But here's the problem: they had 256, and this one guy, this is a duplex in Long Beach, actually, and it's surprising that 256 doesn't buy you something. They were just having a devil of a time getting getting a property under contract, and so it was really kind of, he said, sort of a dump, and he was sort of offended, but he needed to get his parents' money to work. But here we have a problem. This guy won't budge on that. He needs 280, and all they have is 256, and money's a little tight. It's not like they have money to either the parents or the kids didn't have an extra 20 or 30 grand to throw at this thing. So here we are. What is that? A $24,000 difference there. Now, I don't know if you guys were on last month's transaction review, but we went over the differences with hard money versus owner carryback. And if you're not sure, I mean, just to reiterate, for me to do a $24,000 loan, hard money loan, when my only way to make money is points, it's like, gosh, like I'd have to charge a lot of points just to make it worth my time to do the deal. Like if I only charged, 2 or 3 points on this, I wouldn't even make $1,000 for doing this deal. And so it's really hard to make this work. Plus, it's going to be a little higher interest rate in that probably 9 to 12% range, usually 10 to 12% range. Not that that would be a deal breaker here, but for all intents and purposes, just getting hard money to close was going to be expensive, difficult, and take a little bit more time in general. Okay, so they didn't want it, and they didn't want the short term. That's the other thing. They didn't want a 2-year balloon because they need a fully amortized product. So now we knew that we kind of had to rule out hard money, because most hard money private loans, they're interest only. Usually they don't want to go out more than 2 or 3 years. And if they'll go out longer, like Norris Group will go out 8 years, but they won't do this small of a loan, and it's not amortizing. It's interest only. Okay, so anyhow, I'm kind of all over the place on this because there's several pieces. So just going back to reiterate what the deal was, is the asking price was 280. All they had was 256. They're trying to get $1,000 a month income for retirement. This duplex, the gross rents, they're kind of low because the property needs some work, and it also needs, the rents haven't been raised in a while. So the duplex gross rents were $2,000 a month. And if you take a standard expense ratio for multifamilies, you can easily say that 40% of the gross rents will have to be put aside for expenses. So let's count on $800 a month average going to expenses. So that leaves this retired couple $1,200, and that's before debt service, right? That's before paying on funding this gap that they have between the money they have and the money they need. So I can see from right now where they're starting, I can say, okay, they basically have $200-ish a month that can go to debt service, at least for the next 2 years, because probably within 2 years they'll be able to fix up the property and they'll be able to raise the rents, probably, and then to the point where they can easily pay, $400 or $500 a month thereafter. But for the first 2 years, while they're dealing with the property in its current condition, you can see that we were trying to get the payments to be pretty low here. And then after that, it could go up to fully amortize the loan off and still give them that $1,000 a month that they want. So, since hard money was out, here's what we came in and did. And some of the things I'll show you on the next slide, I kind of did sort of first, but it's like you keep going back and forth and back and forth like, okay, what does the seller need? What's the most the buyer can do? What do I think my my investors, note buyers want to do? I know they don't want to hang out a super long time, and I know, even in this super safe kind of situation, they're going to need at least, we're talking an 8 or 9% return. And so then I reverse engineered the deal. So here's what we ultimately did. I talked to the seller and said, "Okay, look, you need to walk away with 280. Do you care how you get the 280?" He says, "No." I said, he said, "I'm just going to ask my realtors to cut their commissions." And I said, "Let's don't do that. You know what? They work hard for their money. Let's just you and me figure out a deal that's fair for everybody." So I said, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make the purchase price 286,000, and you're going to take a down payment of 256, which is the money that they already have with the qualified intermediary for their 1031 exchange. That'll leave you with a first note and deed of trust of $30,000." And he goes, "Yeah, but I don't want to carry it." "I know you don't. So I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy it for 24, and I'll show you that on the next slide. So by the time you get the 256 plus the 24,000, you're going to be at your 280. "Well, how do I know that you're going to buy the note?" I said, "Because I'll make a contract with you, and I'll actually put the money into escrow before you even close on the first deal. And I'll make it non-refundable. So my money's sitting there waiting for you, and that you're not going to get stuck with a $30,000 note that you don't want." And he says, "Okay." So so here's what we did, and don't worry if we miss you the first time around. We're going to keep working this a little bit, and so that I want you to understand, and we'll keep going over it if you don't. So at first we made the interest rate low, and here's where I'm going to bring up my little guy. Okay. So and I don't know, hey, how do any of you have a calculator in front of you right now? And is it this in a day development, or is it like a HP handheld? Does anyone actually have a calculator in front of them right this second? Okay. Okay, so then it doesn't matter. I can show you what the handheld looks like if that helps, but it doesn't matter since no one's trying to follow along here. Okay, so basically, you can do this math in your head, right? Clear all. 286 minus 56, you got a $30,000 note, but this is going to be a little tricky, isn't it? This is going to be an uneven cash flow because for the first 2 years, we're keeping the payment as low as possible while still maintaining the value of the note, while still helping him amortize his position as the buyer, pay down the note. So it was very tricky. It probably took me 2 or 3 hours. I don't actually want to admit that, but I probably worked this over several different ways and just went over and over until I just got close enough and said, "I'll call it good." So what we did is I took that $30,000 note. Okay, this goes up into present value here. And we made the interest rate for the first 2 years 6%. So that's nice and low, so that any principal, the money goes farther. You get more of a principal pay down, obviously, than with a higher interest rate. But what we did to keep it aggressive is we didn't amortize it over 30 years. We amortized it over 180, right? But even though we know that these terms expire, it's not really going to be a balloon in 24 months or 2 years. The terms will change in 2 years. But hopefully, like we said, at that point, the property is throwing off more income, and they'll still get their $1,000 a month retirement nut that they're looking for. Okay, so 30,000, 6%, 180. Solve for payment. So that's how we got 253.16. So we were shooting for 200. But all things considered, with how much I could pay for the note versus needing some amortization, yada yada yada, this they could live with this, and this worked pretty well to make sure I could still pay enough for the note that the seller would be happy too. Okay, so that's what happened. Now we need to find out, well, so then what do we do? So if they pay, it's amortized, it's not interest only. Then what do we do? So after the 24 months, we need to see how much is what the balance is on the note to see how we're going to fully amortize that balance over the next 72 months, 6 years after that. So I'm going to press this little button here and hit the amortization key. And unfortunately, this does not blow up very well. But maybe when they edit this video, they can blow up this part here that says at month 24, the balance of the note is 27,376.44. So you can see they've had about $2,700 of principal pay down just in that first 2 years, mainly because the purchase price was low. In fact, I think I saved this. Okay, good. This is probably easier for you to see. This is I used T-value and T-V-A-L-U-E, T-value. It's probably $150. Maybe they have it on sale sometimes, but it's a really super valuable tool in the note business and owner financing and all of that. So you can see that how it worked out here, right? $30,000 loan. They paid $253.16 for 24 months. So let's go down there. That's where we can see the balance here, $27,376. So basically we have 2 notes inside this note, right? And then from the rest, he's going to be down at 0 by the time he's done. It's fully amortized. It's going to this plan is going to kill amortir. It's going to kill the note. So what we know is, I think I need to go to my next page here to continue the combo. Any questions? Have I lost anyone to this point? Or is there any questions? Feel free to put your hand up or use the chat button. Okay. All right, so let's move on here. We've got the purchase price of $286. We added $6,000 to the purchase price of the note to compensate for the fact that I'm not paying $30,000 for the note. I'm paying $24,000 because I need better than a 6 and 8% return for this note. So obviously I have to buy these payment streams for less than the face value of the note. So we added that $6,000 discount that I already knew that I would take, and we added that to the purchase price. So now I'm at the point of saying, okay, these are the payments, $250 for the first 2 years and almost $500 thereafter is going to be a real doable scenario for the buyer. So then I go, well, then how did you figure out what you would pay for this note? Okay, so that's the point we're at here. So I think I went for a really, because let's just figure loan to value. Is this really high or really low? I mean, this is super low, right? Hey, I got a question for you. Oh, how does the amortization key work? Wayne, do you have this version, this app version, or do you have the handheld HP? Can you tell me? Because in the app, oh, you have the handheld. Then let's do it with the handheld then, because this is an important difference. This is a little smaller. I don't know if I can make that bigger. No, this is as big as this one gets. So let me put this one down for a second. So if you're going along with your handheld HP, let's do this over again, okay? So we'll show you the amort key with this. Okay, $30,000. Here we up at PV. Okay, and then the interest rate we said was 6% starting out, and we amortized the note over 180, but we knew it would kind of be due or the terms would change in 24. Just for safe measure, we'll put in a 0 for FV, future value, because there's not any balloon. So now I'm going to solve for payment. So it's 253.16. Okay, so then if we're trying to, there's what we've got for the note, and we want to know what's the balance going to be. And on the handheld, you don't have that little screen that pops up, right? So here's how you do it, and it's a little complicated. So you have to put the range. So we want from the first payment to the 24th payment, because from payment number 1 through payment 24, we want to know if all those payments have been made, what is the balance. So here's what we're going to do. From 1, we hit 1, and we put input, this input key that's under N number of payments. Okay, so put input. See, it puts a little input thing there. Then we put the last payment we want, which is 24. Okay, that's the end of our range. Now you can see the amort key is orange, so we're going to hit the shift key and hit the amort key. And here's we have the period here from 1 to 24. Then you go down and hit this equal key to move to the next thing. In 2 years, they would have paid $2,623 in principal. I hit this key again. They paid $34.52 in interest in the same term, and we hit it one more time, and it gets to the balance. So the balance at the end of that period from 1 payment to 24 payments is $27,376. And if I keep hitting this equals key, it just keeps cycling through the numbers if I want to go back and go, wait, I want to know this or that, and that's how you can do that. So now to clear it, I'm just going to take one of these numbers and hit it a couple times, right? So let's do that again. Okay, if I want to know the amortization at 24 months, I'll just hit 1. I want to know from the first 24 months, input, 24, shift, amortization. And that's how you get there. And then the equals key just to keep going around and around and around and around. Okay, just double click on one of these top numbers to get out of it. Hope that helps a little bit. Because I know I don't think it's very intuitive. I didn't know how to do it until I actually just got it shown to me, not actually all that long ago, because I usually use my iPhone app. All right, so going back here, we can see that 30,000 divided by 280, we're saying that's the value of the property. $30,000 loan. Oops, I obviously did something wrong. 30,000 divided by 280,000. Okay, that's an 11% loan to value. That is ridiculously safe, and you guys know that, right? Usually things are different. Maybe they put 30,000 down and they carry a $256,000 note, which is more like an 80 or 90%, loan to value, right? But this is sweet. This is sweet, right? And then I'm buying it for even less, so my investment to value, my ITV, I figure, okay, I'm only bringing in 24,000 to buy this note, divided by the value of the property. It's 9%. It's 8.6. This rounds it up to 9. Anyway, so actually I think I wanted 14, but I actually went for 13. It's super safe. I know I can bring another investor in at 8 or 9, and I can still make a 2 or 3% spread on this transaction. Plus, don't forget that I also was able to charge a consulting fee and doc preparation fee. So all things told, even though this was a small deal, I did reasonably well on it. And the best part was created a solution for all the parties that were pretty much freaking out and didn't see a way how this could happen. And that was very, very gratifying to me. So let's figure out how am I going to figure out what my yield is when the first 24 payments are at 253 and the last 6 years of payments are 480. I mean, how am I supposed to figure that out? Okay, so we're going to go over that. So we got to break the note into kind of two pieces. The first piece is just this. We have to pretend like it's almost two notes, and you calculate them separately. So the first note I have, if I buy this note, then here's what I'm going to get. I'm going to get 253.16. I'm just used to putting these as a negative number as a matter of habit. There's no balloon, so 0 for future value. And I'm shooting for a yield. My yield, desired yield on this is 13%. And the number of times that I will receive this payment are 24, 2 years. So now I'm going to come over here, press PV to solve for what I will pay. I will pay, if I need a 13% yield, I'll pay $1,325, $5,325 to receive 253.16 for 2 years. So I just put that number aside. That's one note, right? And then we know, remember we calculated what that balance would be at the end of the 24, and here it is represented here, 27,376. So that's the second note I'm going to have, right? Well, that features in a second. Okay, hold that thought. So now let's go do the second part of the note. Okay, that's 480. Make that a negative number out of habit. We still have 0 future value. Still no balloon. It's going to be fully done at the last payment, the last of the 8-year payment stream. Still here, I can recall. This is the recall button on the handheld right here. So I can recall, yep, my 13's still in there. And then, see, I'm going to get 480 for 6 years after that. So there's 72. That's the number, the N number of payments. So I receive 480 for 72 times. So I calculate here, and I can pay 93,911. 93,911 for 6 years of payments at 480. But what do we have to remember? Look, this payment stream, it doesn't start right away. It does not start for 2 years. So it's not really worth this to me. This is the future value. Like, this is what I would pay if I was going to get it now, if those 480 payments would start now, but they're not starting now. So I actually have to now take this number and say, I don't get this payment for 2 more years out going forward. So here's how we're going to handle this. It's really like 3 transactions in one, isn't it? 3 notes in one. So I know this is going to be, now I know this is my present value, what I'll pay 2 years from now, or if it was today, but I'm not getting it for 2 years. So this is a future value. I treat it as if it's a balloon for me to receive 2 years from now. So I'm going to put it as a negative number because I'm in the habit of putting negative numbers on this side, although there's other ways to do it. So now I'm going to stick this number in as future value. And in the meantime, I'm getting 0 payments. I'm getting 0 payments of 480. Yes, I'm getting these 253 payments, but I'm not getting these payments. So I'm going to put a 0 in the payment part. Okay, so we've got the balloon. It's not really a balloon, but that's the value of these payments, the present value of these payments. But I don't get it yet. I get it 2 years from now. So let's put it 24 months out. Okay, for 24 months, I get 0. I'm still got my 13% yield I'm going for. Zero payments, right? But kind of that theoretical balloon that I'm going to get. So now I got to figure out what's my present value. For the right to receive 23,911 2 years from now, what will I pay today? Okay, 18,463. I rounded up to that. Okay, so you can see that having to wait 2 years for that payment stream to start made me have to discount another, what is that, 4 or 5,000? So let's take, so this is how I came up for what I can buy the note. 463 for that payment stream that won't start for 2 years, plus the payment stream that starts right away, 5325, and that came out to 23,788, and so I just called it an even 24,000. So yeah, probably making just under a 12% yield or 13% yield on it. It's probably like 12.82 or something. I don't know. So, but that's decent for the incredible safety of this opportunity. Plus, I was paid as a consulting fee, so it helped to make it all work. And the best part is these people didn't lose their 1031 deferred status for their capital gains. And the son is now able to manage the property. He lives locally, and they're going to get their $1,000 a month now that will supplement their retirement income nicely. So that's how you can do a 1031 and buy the note. And just when I bought this note, it's important to remember that the seller didn't touch the money. The qualified intermediary was the one on the note. I don't think it mattered to him. But anyway, it was all done in the context of cooperating with a 1031 exchange. So that's how an owner carry with note sale can help a 1031 exchange deal come together. Okay. Any questions? Let's see. Handheld. Mike is asking, did you get compensated 13% twice on this deal in the first 2 years? No, I didn't. Because what I did is I'm just making basically just under a 13% yield because we figured how I got it on this part, right? We figured that part, and then I figured what a 13% yield would be on the second part, but I'm not receiving that part yet. That's a future benefit to be received. So maybe it will help if I do it one more time. I don't know if that's boring, but does anyone else have a question? But so you know that I think everybody gets this part. It's pretty easy to figure out, right? But taking this balance, how did I figure out the 480? Let's just do that really quick. Remember, that's 376.44. That's my present value. Okay, when I'm figuring out his new note. And then remember, we jumped his interest rate to 8% for the last 6 years, and that we had to amortize it fully over 6 years. So 72, 0 future value, and then that's how we came up the 480. So when I'm going to get this payment 2 years from now, and so now I want the 13% yield. And let's see, right, still right. So my what I can pay for that, if that started today, but it doesn't start today. It starts 2 years from now. So if I was able to get this payment plus this payment all at once, then I could have paid him the 23,911 plus 5325. I mean, you can see that would have been hardly any bit of a discount on the note practically. Okay, but it's hard to figure out when it's uneven cash flows, and so this is a little bit of a mind twist, but Anyway, so that's, we know this is a 13% yield for that 6 years of payments, but we know we don't, this does not start for 2 years for us. So that's where we turn it in. We make it a negative number, put it over here to future value. In the meantime, we're getting 0 payments of 480. We're still looking at for our 13% return, and it's going to be 24 months before we get that future value that we've already calculated. So now I have to discount that yet again, and that's how I got up the 18,463. But these two payment streams together just yield me 13%, just less. So I know that's kind of strange. Um, okay, great. Thank you, Von Sil. Hope you're doing okay over there in Florida. I know you're doing a lot of hard work. Um, have a good night. You're off to something else, which means we're pretty much done here. Is there any more questions? Anything else that we can go over for anybody? I appreciate you guys showing up, and I hope you got a couple ideas. If not, I'll see you around at the next club meeting or anything. If you're able to come to, if you're in the LA area or feel like flying in for Halloween, come at the end of the month to a all-day training I'm going to do October 28th, and we'll just be going over lots of deals like this so you understand both sides of owner financing plus buying the note. So anyway, you guys take care, have a great night, and I appreciate you as always. Bye bye.